The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada now brings you Filipinars, news and features about the Filipino-American nursing community and beyond. And now, here's your host, Doris Bauer.
Good evening to you, Filipinars listeners and followers. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe in this COVID pandemic that we're having. It is time again for our Filipinars podcast. And as you all know, this is brought to you by the PNANV, or the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada, in collaboration, of course, with PHLB Radio. We do appreciate your continued support and listening to us in our program. Thank you so much. Before we start on our topic today, I would like to give you an update on the PNANV's Masks and Face Shields project. Okay, masks on, shields up, protecting Nevada together. That's our slogan. It looks like this project is going to go on for a while due to the numerous requests that we have received from healthcare workers and the community alike. In the past week, we have donated masks and shields to 3 home health agencies and different community groups. The requests for face shields and masks are coming from hospitals, from nursing homes, and from all types of healthcare facilities. And we are hard at work to provide for these requests. The new donors for our projects are Ms. Nadia Girani, CarePro Home Health and Hospice, Comprehensive Healthcare Services, Real Benaria and the referees, Kayla Paredes of the Oasis Christian Church, who donated 26 masks. Also, Claudette Lakowitz donated materials and made 100 masks and 100 face shields. And she wants also to donate those to nursing homes. Anyway, also wanted to mention that through a referral from Marissa Hawkins of Massage Envy, we got a donation of 100 face shields from Candy Rosenthal of the Socrates Eline Learning for Kids. She wanted to do something for her birthday, and this was her way of celebrating. What a great lady. Thank you to all of you and to all our donors. We can't do this without you. And special thanks to the PNANV Board of Directors, who are hand sewing masks and making face shields for distribution. So if you'd like to donate to this worthy cause, please visit our website at www.pnanv.org. Click on updates and look for the PNANV Masks and Shields project. Thank you so much. So today we are going to talk about the air that we breathe. Well, the United Nations has a clean air initiative which calls on national and subnational governments to commit to achieving air quality that is safe for our citizens and to align climate change and air pollution policies by the year 2030. According to the World Health Organization, each year, air pollution causes 7 million premature deaths, of which 600,000 of those are children. So our topic for discussion today here at Filipinars is clean air leads to healthy lungs. And specifically, we are going to talk about a topic of clean air standards. And the best people to talk about this topic are our guests today, and they are from the American Lung Association. Please welcome Ms. Jenny Bard, William Barrett, and Shannon Proctor. Welcome all.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to start with you, Jenny. Jenny Bard is the Director of Health Partnerships and Advocacy and Public Policy for the American Lung Association. Is that correct, Jenny?
That is correct. Thank you, Doris. And I am so happy to be here. I have been with the American Lung Association for 23 years, and I work with health and medical organizations and medical and health professionals such as nurses, to engage them on clean air and climate policy and to help us achieve a world where everyone can breathe safely. So I'm so happy to be on your show today. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming. And then we have Mr. William Barrett. William Barrett is the Director of Clean Air Advocacy for California for the American Lung Association as well, right, William?
That's right. I've been with the Lung Association for a little bit over 11 years now, and really have been focused on environmental health issues. So looking at clean air and climate change as risks and opportunities for public health, and really try to tell the story that we have made tremendous progress in cleaning up our air, but we still have a long way to go.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, of course, is our local American Lung Association person. She is the Executive Director of the American Lung Association here in Nevada, Shannon Proctor. Right, Shannon?
Yes, thank you, Doris. So happy to be on the show again. Yes, I've been with the organization. I'm the newbie on the block. It's about 2 years, but and our work is something that's close to my heart and that has impacted my family. And it's really just my job to make sure that we are working hard in our advocacy efforts, our local programming for our lung disease patients, and really just driving home the mission of the American Association here in Nevada. So thanks for having me again.
Yes, of course. Shannon and the local American Lung Association people have collaborated with our organization in a previous seminar about health, and they came and talked to us about the hazards of vaping. So I'd like to get an update on that one of these days, right, Shannon? Okay.
Definitely.
All right. Very good, very good. So, okay, while you're on the hot seat, Shannon, can you give us an overview of the American Lung Association and its work and activities?
Oh, yeah. I mean, basically, our job is to save lives by improving lung health and preventing lung disease. And I feel like our mission is even more important right now and more in the forefront. I mean, we fund research to unlock the secrets of lung disease, from asthma to lung cancer, COVID-19 even now, provide educational resources to been diagnosed with a lung disease to help them manage a very life with their lung disease. Our freedom from smoking is the gold standard in programs for people who want to quit smoking. We have a program which really fights to of women's health priority, and in local state capitals, you know, air for all of us, and protecting lung health for every citizen as a right. So that includes our Clean Air, Clean Cars Nevada, and some other programs that we're working on locally here now.
Very good, very good. Yes. So I think we'll turn the hot seat to William and Jenny, and you guys can, answer any of these questions. Okay. So what is the Clean Air Act and the Healthy Air Advocacy as supported by the American Lung Association?
Sure, I can jump in. The Clean Air Act is actually this year celebrating its 50th anniversary of protecting public health and saving lives by cleaning up our air and ensuring that policies are being put in place to meet clean air standards that actually protect public health. So you think about the Clean Air Act and just the hundreds of thousands of lives that have been touched by improvements in air quality, millions really. And
yeah.
All Americans benefit from the Clean Air Act. We know that the policies set in place, whether they're for clean power or clean transportation or any of the other various sources of pollution, we look to the Clean Air Act as really the bedrock of our clean air progress. And so that's where we take our lead, is we want to make sure that policies follow the science, and the science is what drives the standards that are set to protect us from various pollutants, and really making sure that those standards are set to protect our most vulnerable populations. People who need the most protection are protected by strong standards. And so that's where we focus a lot of our effort. And in California, where I do a lot of my work, we focus a lot of our effort on making sure California's policies are strong enough to meet our clean air challenges, and really make sure that after California adopts, under our Clean Air Act authority, California can adopt stronger standards, and then other states can adopt California's stronger standards. So it really has a chain reaction of health benefits. When California acts, other states, like Nevada just did, can set in motion policies that offer a greater level of health protection. And so, in a nutshell, that's why the Clean Air Act is so important. It's really driving federal policy, but it's also driving actions at the local level that contribute to meeting our clean air standards.
Right, right. Well, thanks for that. We're going to get to dig deep into at least one of the aspects of it anyway. So, well, we all know that there are many sources of air pollution, and one of these sources is from car emissions. So can you tell us about that and the role of adopting a national clean air car standard?
Sure. The transportation sector is the leading source of harmful pollution in the United States, in the state, and it's also the leading source of carbon pollution in the United States and in Nevada. So we know that this is the dominant source of harmful pollution, the transportation sector. We know that policies have been proven effective to clean up the vehicle sector, whether we're talking about passenger vehicles or all the way up through the heavy duty sector. There are policies that can really put a dent in pollution. And with the adoption of the new clean car standards that will be coming forward through Nevada, these standards are going to include standards for cleaning up ozone pollution, particle pollution, greenhouse gases, and ensure that residents of the state have more choices, and really in terms of cleaner cars that don't pollute at all through zero emission technologies. And really all of this adds up to better health. Transportation pollution is often very close to major population centers, and we know often low-income communities and communities of color often bear the brunt of transportation pollution in terms of living near major freeways or roadways, and also major sources of pollution drawing trucks and other sources that gather around warehouses or in other parts of the country, ports and that kind of thing. So the transportation pollution is critically important to meeting our clean air standards, our climate standards, and really to ensuring we're protecting public health.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So we do have the national clean car standards. Well, in March of 2020, the president rolled back the clean car standards. What does that mean? Can you tell us what that means?
Sure. So the federal government decided that they wanted to basically undermine one of the most successful climate programs on the books, and that was the Clean Car Standards. Those standards were designed to increasingly reduce the amount of carbon pollution coming out of passenger vehicles out through 2025. They also, at the federal level, are rolling back the what's called the CAFE standards, so our fuel economy standards. So they've decided to do that, and it's ultimately going to wind up in court. But there's widespread opposition to this. There's widespread outrage, to be honest, that they've gone ahead and revoked state authority to set more health protective standards. They've moved into an area of the clean car standards of really putting forward weak standards that don't amount to much more than adding more pollution and adding more health challenges and costing consumers more at the pump by basically saying we don't want more fuel efficient cars. We don't want cars that pollute less. So it really is a shocking departure from 50 years of Clean Air Act precedent. And we think that as that's moving through the courts, I think the courts will agree with that position that there's no real basis for setting these standards where they have.
Okay, so with that rollback, were there a lot of opposition to it? Were there a lot of like organizations or maybe some even of the car manufacturers? Did they support that rollback or did they not?
Well, automakers essentially, as soon as the 2016 election happened, sent a letter to the new administration asking them to reconsider the prior administration's standards. Those standards were agreed to by the automakers. They were agreed to by federal government, by the states. They had widespread support from advocacy organizations and the public. The rollback, on the other hand, now has widespread opposition among the public, widespread opposition among advocacy organizations. States are suing the federal government over this action. And there are some issues where the automakers now face an uncertain market because of this market that's been basically drawn in two, because now the states have their standards that are stronger, and assuming they stay in place, they'll have those to implement, and then they'll have potentially these federal standards that are much weaker to implement. So it's really an outrageous departure from a standard that was working. It was working as it was intended, and it was working in a way that was cost effective. So it really only benefits the oil industry at this point, because people will be essentially buying more gasoline for their cars than they would have otherwise.
Okay, so wasn't there also a coalition of governors that's did not support it? The rollback, I mean? That's
right. There's a wide group of states, governors, attorneys general, who have sued the administration, saying that under the Clean Air Act, California has the right to set stronger standards. States have the right to follow those stronger standards to protect their own citizens. And this is just a massive departure from the rules set forward in the Clean Air Act and other rules. And really, it's concerning, and that's why the states have taken these actions to sue the federal government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, Jenny, recently in June, the American Lung Association joined a letter with 65 other organizations thanking the Nevada Governor Sisolak for moving forward with clean air standards for Nevada. Can you tell us what that was all about and why Nevada and what was the outcome?
Thank you, Doris. I'm going to start just by saying how important this initiative has been for the health community in Nevada, and then I'll pass it back to Will to explain some of the details of what this actually means. But we were very pleased to have the support of 7 major health organizations in Nevada, including the Nevada Nurses Association and the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Nevada Public Health Association, and many others who really recognized, as Will was saying, the importance of reducing emissions from vehicles to protect public health of all Nevada residents and to give them the choices that they're looking for. So this was a very huge and broad coalition. Many health organizations stepping up for this, including the Lung Association, of course. And we're excited that Nevada has taken this leadership role. And I'll just ask Will to share a little bit more about what that exactly means in terms of what's next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Jenny. Basically, the governor announced last year, issued an executive order on climate change, basically laying out a vision for a lot of actions that would be taken to help the state establish stronger policies to achieve healthy reductions in climate pollution in following recent legislation. And so one of the key elements of that was to set forward an inventory of all the pollution in the state. And that process yielded results that show that the transportation sector is the largest source of carbon pollution. And so this is the logical next step. While the federal government is stepping away from its responsibility to protect public health, the states are stepping up. And so Nevada recently launched or announced that they would launch the adoption process of a stronger state standards. And those standards would be for cleaning up the air, fighting climate change, and ensuring automakers are making their zero emission vehicles available to people in Nevada. Because right now there's a limited amount of those types of vehicles compared to the actual offerings by the automakers. So it's really setting forward a process that will run through next year that basically says the state is going to follow the stronger California standards that 14 other states have already adopted. And these have been on the books in other states for decades. So these standards, so let's see, Colorado adopted last year, and Minnesota is on the verge of it. New Mexico has announced an interest in adopting these standards. And so there's a lot of interest around the country to exerting state authority to protect the public health of their citizens through these stronger standards. So now we're in the process of, rejoicing that the governor took this important action, and then moving forward to the actual the process of making the rules so that they're on the books and enforceable in a couple of years. And so I think you mentioned the broad coalition, and Jenny certainly walked through the health partners involved, but there were advocacy organizations focused on the environment. There were labor organizations. There were groups that promote electric vehicles. There are groups that manufacture electric trucks, electric motorcycles. There was a wide range of support for this action because we all know it's the right thing to do for public health and for moving forward with a clean economy.
Of course. Okay, and Shannon and Jenny, feel free to interject if you have something to say. What can Nevadans expect out of this? What are going to be the positive outcomes, or would there be an added cost to the consumer?
I think that the basic thing that Nevadans should expect is that the clean car standards will essentially roll forward, and you may not even notice it. The standards are not fuel economy standards, but they are standards that reduce pollution at the state level. So we'll see reductions in harmful pollutants. We'll see more choices in vehicles. There's no rational argument that this is going to limit anyone's choices. We're talking about by 2025, like 7 to 8% of the vehicles, 7 to 8% of the new vehicle sales are expected to be zero emission. So it's not the bulk of the vehicles on the road. And by setting forward these standards, the automakers that are manufacturing crossover type SUVs that are zero emission, or pickup trucks, or anything, any type of vehicle that you would need, you should be able to have a choice between a zero emission or a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid and the standard. And we would hope that because of the air quality and public health benefits, that people would really take a minute and consider the real benefits of these vehicles. Not to mention they're fun to drive, and you don't have to go to the gas station, and those kind of things.
Yeah, well, not all of us can afford electric cars though, but maybe that's a dream of mine. But yeah, I mean, it is good for the air. It's good for our lungs, that's for sure. And the option of not using oil or whatnot is really pretty big out there. So.
And I would just add to that on a lifetime basis, right? If you think about the amount of time you spend doing oil changes, getting to the gas station, all of those kind of things are eliminated with a zero emission vehicle. So they're far more efficient technology. And we would argue that, there should be, greater incentives for people to drive electric, whether that's through consumer rebates. The federal tax credit of $7,500 is available. So there are a lot of options for bringing down the cost, but I would argue too that one of the most important ways to bring down the cost is to boost the volume. And so the more of these vehicles on the road, the batteries come down in cost quite a bit. And then we're just a few years, to be honest, away from parity of cost between gas and electric models.
Electric ones. Okay. Okay. So where do we go from here then? Regarding the clean car standards, what would the American Lung Association like to see in terms of a national policy change?
I would say that the main thing would be that we get back on track with policies that follow the science, follow the law, and follow what's needed for protecting public health in terms of vehicle emission standards.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, again, the transportation sector is the leading source of harmful pollution. We are committed to focusing on zero emission transportation choices, not just in Nevada, but as a national priority. And so we're really hopeful that we get on track with stronger standards for gasoline and combustion technologies, as well as pushing more opportunities for zero emission technologies across the board. So I think, as we're looking at the federal policy as it is, it doesn't follow the best science. It doesn't follow the basic tenets of the Clean Air Act.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would hope that the courts would rule in favor of the states in order to be able to set standards that make sense and actually throw out the newly proposed rollback weaker rules.
Okay, that's good. All right. Do you have anything to add to that, Shannon or Jenny?
I would just say that we definitely need leadership in this country to set the target for a very rapid reduction in emissions, and the American Lung Association is definitely leading the effort to provide the rationale for why that's so important from a public health perspective. So we definitely are wanting to educate the public about the importance of why zero emission transportation is so critical for public health and for achieving our clean air goals, and to make it easy for people to drive electric and zero emission vehicles. As you say, these should be made much more available, much more cost with cost savings for consumers. It's just really important to drive the adoption of that acceptance of the technology and get more people into the cars.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So what will the American Lung Association advocacy group do, like on plans on helping with making a nationwide policy change? And do you think the current administration will ever rescind the rollback?
I have no expectation that they would rescind the rollbacks. I think that would be something that the courts decide to do or direct. And I think that, at the national level, we are deeply engaged in the process now to argue that the national standards for particle pollution and national standards for ozone pollution should be strengthened and follow the science that, would indicate that these standards currently are not strong enough to protect public health, and that those standards should have been reviewed and follow the science and set to a standard that actually provides a margin of safety for our most vulnerable people. Unfortunately, the impacts of climate change are really coming into the equation more and more each year. We're having record-setting heat seemingly every year, but ongoing heat records are being broken, and along with that comes higher ozone pollution. We're also in the West, throughout the whole West, experiencing catastrophic wildfires in alarmingly increasing levels, and that generates widespread particle pollution. In our State of the Air report this year that came out in April, We saw the impacts of wildfires all over the western United States, and we know that wildfire smoke travels in the form of particle pollution. And we saw that in Las Vegas, we saw that in Reno, we saw that throughout the Pacific Northwest, and all over. And so we know that stronger standards will drive stronger policy and will protect public health that much more.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for that. Okay, so just for informational purposes for our listeners, what are the other causes of air pollution?
Sure, there are many, many causes of air pollution.
Yeah.
The major sources that we focus on, there's pollution from the power sector through power plants. There's pollution that burn fossil fuels. There's pollution from the transportation sector, as we've talked about. There's pollution all the way up and down the supply chain for fossil fuels. So think about your local gas station, and there's emissions coming out of the local gas station all the way back up through the transportation of fossil fuels or gasoline and diesel, back up through the oil fields, the refining process, natural gas fields. These all have significant impacts, especially for the communities most directly adjacent to these communities. And again, those tend to be lower income communities, oftentimes communities of color, that bear the greatest burdens of industrial pollution. There are other sources like wood stoves that can impact. One in our State of the Air report, we highlighted Phoenix as one of the top 10 most polluted cities in the United States. Las Vegas was also on that list. And in Phoenix, in Las Vegas both, there were weather conditions that actually trapped particle pollution close to the ground in some of the most extreme cases to levels that hadn't been seen before in the Phoenix area. And that was driven by fireplaces, wood stoves, wood burning. So it's not just the big sources that we think about every day, it's the things in our homes, it's the things in our communities that need to be addressed. And in just one final example, in California, there is a policy underway to push forward with zero emission requirements for lawn and garden equipment and other small off-road engines like that, because that sector has actually surpassed in some ways, in some pollutants, the passenger vehicle sector. So you think about a lawnmower operating in your neighborhood or a leaf blower, and that has a tremendous amount of pollution for the short amount of time it's there. And so there, again, it's just a local source that has direct emission pollution impacts at the neighborhood level. So there's not a silver bullet for cleaning up the air. It's more of a...
I was going to say, what lawnmower am I going to use then?
Well, there's a lot. Right now, there's a lot of options. I grew up actually at my parents' house with an electric corded lawnmower, and I still have one today. So there's that.
Really?
But that's kind of old technology by now, because there's so many interchangeable battery operated options out there. So I think there's a lot of solutions out there. We just have to find the policy pathway to get there.
Okay. Well, let's talk about indoor pollution. There are basically some causes of indoor pollution, right? Who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll just jump in with some indoor sources. Obviously, we didn't talk about tobacco smoke and secondhand smoke, and that's a significant source of pollution outdoors and indoors. And so, we'd want to make sure we highlight that one, and the importance of reducing exposures to secondhand smoke anywhere indoors. But the other sources are from wood burning. Wood burning is probably one of the biggest sources of indoor air pollution from residential heating, residential fireplaces, and wood burning stoves. That's a very important source, and emissions can be quite high inside the home. I think other sources can be, from candles, from scented products. Those can actually be harmful sources for people who are sensitive to fragrances and chemicals from cleaning products, or of course a big source of potential exposure and air pollution. So the Lung Association has long advocated for lung-friendly cleaning products. Keeping the air clean, using air purifiers, particularly with wildfire smoke and other indoor air pollutants that can be harmful to lung health.
Yeah, like some gases like radon or carbon monoxide, that hurts the lungs quite a bit, right?
Yes, those are huge sources. Thank you for bringing those up, actually. Those are very, very important sources. Radon is the second leading environmental cause of lung cancer in the United States. And carbon monoxide, invisible gas that you can't smell, is also very, very dangerous, can build up in the home. So having a carbon monoxide detector in your home is very important, and making sure that all appliances are vented outside.
Yeah, good. Well, there's other things too, like carpet pollutants, dust mites, mold and dampness, and even lead, right?
Yes, we're gonna hire you, Doris. You've you've covered all the really important indoor air pollutants. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. All right. So, Jenny, I saw that the American Lung Association has launched a new campaign called Stand Up for Clean Air. What is that all about, and how can people get involved?
Thank you for that great question. So, recognizing that air pollution and climate change is a public health emergency, the American Lung Association has launched Stand Up for Clean Air. And this is an initiative that encourages everyone really to take action. The air pollution we breathe can harm everyone's health, anyone's health. And climate change is making air quality worse, as you heard. So that's why we're really asking the public and all your listeners to stand up for clean air. Anyone can make a difference with large and small actions. Driving less, as we said, choosing electric vehicle, bicycling more, choosing clean renewable energy where you can. These are all ways that we can help improve air quality and address climate change. So we're inviting people to stand with us and take a pledge and share a story on social media with the hashtag #MyCleanAirStory, and help us spread the word. And you can learn all about this campaign on our website at lung.org/air, AIR.
Yeah, we're going to show actually for that clean air. Right, so we're going to show that.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. We're really excited about this campaign. We want this is a campaign for everyone. Anyone who has lungs can be impacted by air pollution. And this is an issue that's really so basic and so important for everyone. So we're excited to launch it and invite everyone to join us. And I'll just add that health professionals are also stepping up and have been for a long time to speak out for strong climate action with the Lung Association through our Health Professionals for Clean Air and Climate Action. And we are looking for health professionals in Nevada, and we'd love to have the Filipino Nurses Association be involved with us. And a health professional can be a nurse, a respiratory therapist, a doctor, a public health worker, you name it. We would love you to join us and join our campaign. And health professionals are the most important, most critical messengers for why this is important. You are seeing your patients are experiencing these impacts. You're taking care of patients impacted by the air pollution and by climate change. So your voice is just very important, and we would love to work with you to get the word out to the public. So
very cool, very cool. I will definitely bring that up at our next board meeting. So
fantastic.
This is a very good cause.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So Shannon, let me turn to you for a minute. So we are in this COVID pandemic. Does the American Lung Association have any action initiatives for this pandemic? Because this is all respiratory fraud, right?
So we have our COVID-19 Action Initiative, where we are investing $25 million to defend against COVID-19 and future respiratory virus pandemics. So we stepped up right away, investing $8 million into the research for a cure for COVID-19. And we'll continue to invest in that until we hit that 25 million. And again, it's not just to get us out of the current situation with COVID-19, but to put some research, education, and advocacy efforts in place so that we don't find ourselves in this position again, where we have a respiratory pandemic that basically, stops life as we know it. And we're uniquely poised to do that. Voluntary health organization, and we were started as an organization to what we did in the United States, and we did that utilizing those three things: investing into research, education, and advocacy. And so we'll use those same three things to pull us out of this current situation that we're in. And we've seen great progress with some of the researchers that we are already funding. And we have some other bids out there for new research that we want to invest money in. And, we want to be seen as, a great partner when it comes to the fight against COVID-19.
Okay. So here in Nevada, Shannon, can you tell us the contact information for the American Lung in Nevada?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking to get in touch with your local office, you could definitely give us a call. We can be reached at 702-431-6333 is our direct number. You can also email us at info@lung.org, and we'll get back with you. If you're looking for COVID-19 specific information, we do have some on our national website. So you'll want to go to lung.org/COVID-19. We even have town halls and webinars. Some are recorded that we've already had that provide a wonderful amount of information about just what's going on with COVID-19 and great information and resources people can find there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. We're glad to hear that, the American Lung Association is putting some initiatives on research and all of that and the cure. So anyway, okay. So let's put this question to each and every one of you. What is your message to the public about clean air, and how can we promote clean air in our community? Who wants to start? Shannon, you're on the thing. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, my technology is not working for me today, so you're freezing up a little bit. So I'm going to guess at what I think you just asked for.
Okay.
Start with kind of our COVID-19 message. Let me start there. As possible. If you have to go out, please wear a mask. Wash your hands for 20 seconds. If you can't, you do that. Use hand sanitizer, and please continue to social distance. If we're, as far as just clean air, we stand up for clean air. It is very important, and pollution, whether it be environmental or indoor air pollution, can impact anybody and of life. I mentioned at the top that lung disease is something that has impacted my family very personally, and I have a sister who is still very young in life and who battles COPD, and it's significantly impacted her quality of life and her ability to play with her grandkids and just live out the best years of her life to the fullest. And it's all because of, this person never smoked or anything, and so it's other factors that have impacted her ability to breathe. And I know it's a line that we use at the American Lung Association every day, but I see it in my personal life every day. If you can't breathe, you really can't do anything. And that impacts every part of your life. And so if it's not for you, if it's for someone you love, definitely stand with us, get involved. because it's a call. If you have lungs, you can have lung disease. And so this does impact everybody, and we need all of you standing with us for lung health and for clean air.
Great, great. Well, you answered the other question, which was what's your message to the public about COVID? So let's combine those two questions for Jenny or for Will here. Or let's start with Jenny. Jenny, what is your message to the public about clean air? How can the community help? And what's your message to the public about this COVID pandemic?
Thank you. I think Shannon said it so beautifully. I would just add that, educating yourself about the health impacts of air pollution is probably the most important thing that people can do, because once they understand what these impacts are, what the impacts air pollution are having on our climate, what the impacts of climate change are having on our health and will continue to have on our health and future generations, hopefully will motivate people to want to get involved with us, because as I mentioned, we do recognize that air pollution and climate change is a public health emergency, and we don't say that lightly. It is probably one of the greatest threats we are going to be facing as a community and as a society going forward, potentially even more devastating than COVID-19. And I think a lot of people do look at these two threats together because they're so huge and impactful. But there is a path forward to fighting both COVID-19 and climate change and air pollution. And the Lung Association has a roadmap for that. So we truly invite people to get involved with us. As Shannon said, the Stand Up for Clean Air is a great place to start, but just even going to lung.org, you're going to find a lot of great information and ways to get involved. And we welcome everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, William, you have the last word. What is your message to the public about clean air and this COVID pandemic?
I would only echo the two amazing women that I get to work with on a daily basis, that everyone's job is to support clean air, and we're ready for people to get involved with us. We have great staff. We have great teams around the country that can help find the best way to get involved. And as Shannon and Jenny said, we're ready to work with everyone and really make it happen. So thank you so much, Doris, for the opportunity here, and really wonderful to be here with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for for that message from all of you, actually. And so on behalf of the Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada and PHLB Radio, I would like to thank all three of you, our guests today from the American Lung Association of America, and thank you for coming to our podcast and sharing with us your insight and your knowledge about clean air, clean car standards, and also your wonderful, wonderful association. Thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much
Doris,
for having
and
us.
Thank you for everything you do. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for all those masks and face shields that your team is making too. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll send you an email.
Wonderful. I'd like to donate.
All right. Great. Wonderful. So, and to our listeners, we all want clean air, that's for sure. But it takes a concerted effort to get it. And you can do your part. And there are more options than ever for reducing our carbon footprint and keeping harmful pollutants out of the air. And by incorporating the positive steps into our lives, and you can choose that, of course, and supporting the industries that help conserve our energy, we can help guarantee a clean air for our future generations, for our kids and for our grandkids. Please stay safe and stay healthy. We are still in the thick of this COVID pandemic. Please do your part to show that you care and to show or to slow the spread. Please wear masks and conform with social distancing guidelines, and we can get out of this crisis. We can do it. We can do it together. Thank you for listening. This is Doris Bauer, your Filipinars host, signing off for now.
The Philippine Nurses Association of Nevada has just brought you Filipinars, news and features about the Filipino American nursing community and beyond. Fridays, 7 p.m. on PHLV Radio.